I want to start out by saying thank you to everyone because we've already hit our financial goal of $35,000. Amazing. My name's Davis Walters. I'm co-founder of Sharing Kindness. This is my wife, Kim Mead Walters, the other founder. And we are really so happy, despite the cloudy weather, to be here. It was touch and go for the longest time because of COVID, but we're here, and you guys are here, and we love it. So I want to start out by announcing the names of the top individual earners. Number 5 is Katie Quigley. Let's give Katie a round of applause. Number 4 is Steve Guerin. Number 3 was Emily Bassett. Thank you, Emily. Number 2, our very own Tracy Taylor. And our top individual earner this year is Tony Sanat. I'd like to ask Tony to come up. We got a couple of gifts for her to say thank you. One of them is our venerable Sharing Kindness tote bags. You want to hand those over? And the other is a gift certificate from Chatham Bars Inn. Chatham Bars Inn couldn't support us with a cash donation, so they provided a very generous gift certificate. And so we wanted to say thank you to you, passing that along. We really appreciate it. Okay. All right. You going to introduce Tim? Or you'll hand back to me? Okay. All right. Here's Kim. She's got to give us some opening words.
Can you hold that for a second? I knew I should have memorized them. On behalf of Sharing Kindness, welcome. We are so pleased to be here today with our walk collaborators, the Cape and Islands Suicide Prevention Coalition, the Samaritans on the Cape and Islands, and NAMI. All the funds raised support groups in suicide prevention and postvention. And we are also pleased to have our community colleagues and their resource tables here with us. And most importantly, we're grateful that all of you are here with us, especially grateful since we couldn't have our walk last year. When we held the first Cape and Islands Suicide Awareness Walk 4 years ago, our focus was solely on suicide prevention. It was 6 months after the death of our son Jeremy by suicide, and we wanted to do whatever needed to be done to prevent any other family from feeling as devastated and as shattered as we did. And we thought we would have maybe 50 people, our family and Jeremy's friends. And hundreds of people came. And the stories that were shared that day, those stories have changed my life. People felt safe. They knew there would be no judgment and no stigma. Some stories were told for the first time in years. At least one story was told for the first time ever. And we realized the critical need here in our community for grief support. Healthy grieving is essential to healing, and that's why this is a suicide awareness walk. Awareness includes both suicide prevention and support for suicide loss survivors. Please look at the Trifold Walk pamphlet. I meant to have one. Sorry, I must have blown away. That's new this year. The back has the walk route, which is great. And as sponsors who are supporting this year's walk, please consider supporting the local businesses who are supporting us. On the inside is educational information. Why is raising suicide awareness important on the Cape? The risk of dying by suicide for our youth and our adults is twice that of their counterparts on the other side of the bridge, more than twice. There are 14 counties in Massachusetts, and 2 of the top 3 rates of suicide are right here, Barnstable and Nantucket counties. How about prevention? In that trifold, lots of good information, and our speakers will address this also. but education is where it starts. To respond to a heart health crisis, you need CPR. For a brain health crisis, QPR. The information on how to access it is in there. Lots of our collaborators offer it. It's free, it's 90 minutes. Everybody should have, the same way we should all have CPR, we all need QPR. Suicide. Suicide is a person's response when their pain exceeds their ability to cope. Suicide is a person's response when their pain exceeds their ability to cope. Sorry about that. To reduce the number of people who die by suicide, we need to address the ability to cope and also the pain. Yes, yes. The pain in our community. Individuals who experience racism or sexual trauma are at increased risk for suicide due to their pain. Groups with a history of being marginalized, such as Native Americans, those on the spectrum, those who identify as LGBTQ, all are at increased risk. Our veterans are at increased risk due to their trauma and pain. People who are job and housing insecure are at increased risk. We need to improve access to coping, mental health access, and we need to decrease the pain. For many years, stigma kept our community from talking about suicide, and the number of deaths from suicide has increased 30% in the last 20 years. The back of our shirts says, "End the silence." Please become educated and advocate. Advocate for those who are struggling, advocate for those who are grieving, and advocate in honor of our loved ones taken by suicide. At Sharing Kindness, our tagline is, "Start the conversation." Courageous conversation is what's needed now, and please end the silence. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kim. We on the Cape and Islands are very fortunate to have such great support at the State House. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Representative Tim Whalen, a good friend and a great supporter of our cause. Tim.
Before I begin my remarks, because they will never ask for recognition for the hard work that they do, but my God, what do we have to say for the Walters family and their great work? Can we please give them a round of applause? Been friends with the Walters since way back in the Nauset High School days when I coached their daughter in basketball, and I see that we have some other people that I coached around here as well. And I heard, where's Emily? Is Emily here? Emily Bassett? I heard her name earlier, someone else that I coached. A finer family you're gonna have a hard time trying to locate here on Cape Cod than the Walters. And so thank you very much, Davis and Kim, for your hard work, taking your family's just terrible tragedy and turning it into something beautiful and trying to help people. This speaks to what our community here is all about. And thank you to each and every one of you here who arrived, donated, helped out, volunteered. Thank you to the organizations that are here. You represent a wide swath of just great service here in our community that makes me so proud to call myself a Cape Codder. I'm a Washershore, but I'm a Cape Codder. Very shortly, you're going to hear from my dear friend and very, very hardworking colleague, Senator Julian Cyr, who's the chair of the Senate chair of the Joint Committee on Mental Health, a strong advocate for the mental health community, and he's going to tell you about some of the great work that they did last year and some of the plans that they have in the coming year to service the mental health community. When I come here every year, one of the points of light that I'm asked to speak to because of my background as a military veteran and as having been a state trooper is to speak very briefly to the great need for service within our first responder community and our veteran community. There's right now, we've all heard that we're losing 22 veterans a day across the nation to suicide. Many people carry a misconception thinking that it's folks that have recently returned from the battlefield. What they're finding is that the suicide rates are highest among the veterans who are over the age of 50. Many of them are Vietnam veterans, Korean War veterans, people who just never, the fight just never left them. They came home with the invisible scars that never, ever really heal. And we have fantastic organizations here that are trying to reach out to that community. We have represented here today by the Cape Cod Vet Center. Even little things, like I have a dear friend of mine, Kurt Power. Kurt Power is a United States Army soldier. When he fought over in Iraq, in Ramallah, he was shot. He died on the operating table and they brought him back. He came back to the States. He fought his way through his own personal crisis. And he is right now in the middle of a nationwide tour, driving around in his Subaru around the United States, trying to raise awareness to veteran suicide and trying to tell the veterans who are in a very dark place right now that they just got to keep up the fight and that help is available. And that's what we have to do, is we have to tell our friends and our neighbors that help is available. You have to keep up the fight. And the combat veterans that are in my circles keep reminding me that sometimes the easiest thing that we can do is to be kind to one another. Because sometimes during the course of our days, without even knowing it, your ship is going to cross with a ship, and that ship is going to be a person who's having a really, really difficult day. And by smiling at them, saying, hey, how are you, and being kind, just being nice, that might be just the lift that they need for that day to get them through to the next. So be that lift, be that shining light, be kind to one another, share kindness, and let's just keep being a voice. And thank you all very much for being here. You are all part of the solution. God bless you all.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Tim. So glad you're here. And now I'd like to introduce State Senator Julian Cyr. Oh, I beg your pardon. I've gone out of order. All right. So next on the list, sorry, Julian.
Always good to rain.
You're probably a little warmer now that you made that extra trip. I'd like to introduce Sharing Kindness's advisory board member and clinical advisor, Kathleen Shine O'Brien. Thank you, my dear.
Wow, morning. Oh my gosh, there's a lot more of you than I thought. Sorry, Julian. I'll be way easier to follow than Tim. You know, one of the things we talk about a lot at Sharing Kindness is how complicated grief is. And grief kind of sucks, regardless of what we're going through. But when we are feeling grief after the loss of someone by suicide, it's messy, it's complicated, it's ugly. We get asked impertinent questions that we don't have answers to. We have a lot of questions ourselves that we don't have answers to. And so it makes our grieving process quadruple what it would normally be. And so one of the reasons that we have this walk is so that we can come together as a community, that we can come together as a tribe of people who know someone who died by suicide, who loved someone who died by suicide, who care that we don't have this epidemic, this public health crisis continue. And so part of our job at Sharing Kindness is to make sure that we provide these opportunities for awareness, for education, and to empower people. The other thing I want to say is that we can all come together to build resilience, to have hope, and to grow. And also that our loved ones who died by suicide are far more than their death. They were people who mattered to us. They were people who worked, who went to school, who fought. They're people who lived and loved. And that's what we want to remember. When you look at the pictures on our memory wall, recognize the lives that were lived, not the way that they died. And lastly, I want to tell you that one of our goals at Sharing Kindness is that we will have a brick and mortar place on Cape Cod, a center for hope and healing, where people can come and grieve together, learn to be together, Be with people that are like-minded and that actually get it. Help us make that dream come true. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And now, State Senator Julian Cyr. Sorry, buddy. Thanks very much.
Good morning. First of all, it's so nice to be able to gather and be with people. This is actually, this is the first public event that I've done since we're coming out of this, and so there's a lot to be hopeful for right now, and there's a lot to be hopeful for in this walk. But I think just having a moment where we're all able to be together again for in the last 14, 15 months, I think for all of us, but especially for people who are grieving, who are experiencing trauma, this has been a tremendously challenging time for all of our mental health. It's been challenging for me, it's been challenging for everyone I know, and it's been challenging for all of you. It is good to be with you. I guess we're back to our regularly scheduled May weather programming. I had sort of thought this was going to be akin to the past prior days. But it's just really nice to be with all of you, and thank you to everyone who made today possible. Kim, thank you for the invitation, and also to Fiona Jensen, who had extended an invitation as well. And this is just so important. You look at our communities here on Cape Cod and here on the islands, we really unfortunately lead the state in our need to tackle this epidemic of suicide. And how we do that, right, is by telling our stories and by making it personal. I think what Tim was talking about, and Tim, thank you for your friendship, and this has been it's been an interesting time to serve, but I've been grateful for the partnership of all the members of our delegation, right? But Tim talking about that story about making it personal, especially for men, right? Talking about, and men in we're a little older on in life, but in an older generation, right? Talking about mental health is really important, because when we look at who this has affected, it's affected that population. When we look at my community, when you look at the LGBTQ community, and that LGBTQ youth are 3 times more likely than their straight peers to have suicide ideation, and 5 times more likely to have a suicide attempt. That just needs to reiterate to us how crucial it is that we are looking out for the most vulnerable, that we're doing a heck of a better job in actually making sure that mental health, not only care, but a culture of addressing our mental health isn't just this nice to have thing, right? But is absolutely as essential as all of our other health care. And that's what we've been trying to do in the legislature, in the Senate. Senate President Karen Spilka, her #1 personal priority is transformation of mental health. In her family, her father struggled with mental health, and actually suicide ideation was part of that. A number of members in both chambers have experienced this in their family with mental health, and so we're really working to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make mental health care accessible, ubiquitous, and to really change the culture here. And that gets into a lot of things, a lot of wonky things, a lot of things around insurance coverage. Workforce is crucial and really important, and a big challenge here, right? Because we just have become so profoundly unaffordable. Access and really changing the culture here. And so what we're doing today, what all of you are doing today, by telling your stories, by making this personal, by remembering a loved one who is no longer here, but is very much with us in spirit, right? That's how we change this. That's how we end this. And so what you're doing this morning is so important. So thank you so much for having me today, and look forward to many more years of these. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Julian. Thanks very much. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Tim. Really grateful that you guys are here. Next, I'd like to introduce my son, Kyle Walters. Interesting fact, Kyle and Julian are both alums of the Nauset Regional High School Honors Chorus. Who'd have known? There will not be a sing-off later, just wanted to say. Kyle's here to introduce us and get our bead ceremony started. So, you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. So, the people who are supposed to, they're not here, so it's fine. All right.
Yeah.
No, it's fine, it's fine. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, physically at this podium. Hi, everyone. So, each of us has our own stories and our own reasons for being here. Mine are my brother Jeremy and my cousin Matt. As we gather today, we remember, and to that end, the beads we wear honor a loved one lost, a personal struggle, or the struggle of a loved one. The beads come in many colors, representing the many real facets of our community's connection to this cause. White honors the loss of a child. Red honors the loss of a spouse or partner. Gold honors the loss of a parent. Orange honors the loss of a sibling. Purple honors the loss of a relative or friend. Green honors a personal struggle. Teal represents a friend or family member of someone who struggles. Silver honors the loss of a first responder or military veteran. Blue represents supporting suicide prevention. These beads, and each of you, represent our dedication, our commitment, and our strength as a community. Let's have a few moments of silence as we honor our loved ones. Thank you. So, let us carry our loved ones who are not able to be with us as we walk today. Let us walk for those who struggle so that they know we care for them. Let us walk to improve education, raise awareness, and smash stigma. This is how we end the silent epidemic. Thanks.